the spirit for the Lord. I can't turn down. Talking too much, bruh. It's time for you to learn now.
So what they hearing, they offended, get now.
What's your name, sis?
I'm Judith.
Judith?
Yeah.
Nice to meet you, Judith. That's a great name, Judith. My name's Onias. Okay, so you go to church?
Yes.
You go to church? What? Catholic church?
No, Apostolic Faith of Christ.
Apostolic
I'm
Faith.
Pentecostal.
Pentecostal. Okay. You go to church too, my brother? Morris, you go to church?
Church?
Yeah, a la iglesia. ¿Hablas español?
Oh, hey, good.
¿Sí? ¿Hablas español? ¿Ustedes dos? ¿Los dos? Okay. So, en la iglesia, ¿qué tienen las paredes? ¿Cuál tipo de imagen tienen las paredes de Cristo? En su iglesia dice no, ¿ok? ¿Tiene esta imagen en su... Oh, no, okay. So you want to know about Christ, right? Real quick, Revelation 1. I want you to... Because I don't want you to leave here, sis, without knowing what Christ is.
Chapter what, 13?
1 and 1. Watch, we're going to show you. We're going to read it for you, sis, so we can explain it. Because we can read the Bible, but we might not get the understanding. Read.
I got the
Revelation, chapter 1, verse 1. The revelation of Jesus Christ, which God gave unto him.
Verse 14. So la revelación de Jesucristo. We're going to see what he looked like. Vamos a ver la descripción de Jesucristo. Lee.
His Revelation, chapter 1, verse 14. His head and his hairs were white like wool.
So it says Christ's head and his hairs were white and woolly. So which one? Does this have white and woolly hair?
No.
Does this have white and woolly hair?
Yes.
Yeah, that has white and woolly hair. Okay, so this so far, this is not telling, it's not accurate, right? Read.
None of that is different.
Right.
As white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire. And his...
What color is his eyes? Right here. Blue and green, right? But his eyes are red, right? Read.
And his feet like unto fine brass.
So what color is brass, Judith?
What?
Brass.
Brass.
Yeah.
Copper, like copper.
Like brown, right?
Yeah.
Brown. Like brown te brunita is cafe, right? So let's see how brown it was. Read.
As if they burned in a furnace.
So as if it burned in a furnace. So if you burn anything, you cook, right? You ever burn rice, like white rice?
But Jesus is the line.
No, I'm asking you.
Like glow.
I hear you. Dude, listen. You burned rice before?
Excuse me?
You burned rice before? Or you burned
Yes,
anything?
yes.
What color does it turn?
Brown.
Black. So they say Christ was so dark that he looked like he was a furnace. He was a dark-skinned man. He looked like me and you. He was dark. He had color.
Right.
But this right here, they teach you lies. And the reason why that's important, because you said this is not in your church, right?
No.
But guess what? But listen. Guess what? His doctrine is in your church.
Yes.
His doctrine is in church. And you know what his doctrine is? It's teaching you to sin.
Right.
So let me ask you a question. Why are you here today?
I'm going over there shopping.
Shopping. Now, what's today? Exodus 20.
Today's Saturday.
According to the
But
Bible.
I don't believe in the Saturday. That's
Wait. Sis.
That was for the Israelis back in the days with Moses.
So did Christ keep the Sabbath day? Luke 4:16. Did Christ keep the Sabbath day?
Yes, he did.
So, are you a follower of Christ?
Yes.
So shouldn't you follow what Christ
But
does?
that's for the Gentiles. For the Gentiles on the New Testament, that's for us. That's all the way in the past for the Israelis.
No, that's for all of us. We gotta keep the Sabbath day, sis. We gotta keep the Sabbath day. Luke 4:16. Because Christ, you are a follower of Christ, we gotta do what Christ says to do. Read that.
Luke chapter 4, verse 16. And he came to Nazareth, where he had been.
Sis, you're not following. If you're following Christ, you would keep the Sabbath day, sis. Do you go to what day do you go to church on?
Sunday.
Why do you go to church on Sunday?
Why?
Yeah, no, I'm asking you.
Do you know why?
Yeah, I'm asking you.
Because the Catholics, they changed the calendar.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why.
So the Catholics changed. Did God change it?
The God didn't change it.
So why do you follow what the Catholic Church is doing?
We don't have their calendar back in the
Yes, we have the same
We
calendar.
don't have their calendar.
Sis, can I show you?
Oh, my God.
I can show you, sis, but you don't want to listen.
I don't have time.
Okay, read that again. Luke 4:16. Right, we got to understand, guess what? We have to follow what Christ says. A lot of our, like we just read in Deuteronomy 28. Jesus, ven aquí. Okay. Okay, so listen here, what'd you say?
Dice en la Biblia en el Nuevo que alabas al Señor.
Say it in English, say it in
It
English.
says, the Bible says to serve the Lord every day.
Yes.
Okay, well, why do you want to
Yes,
take
but
away the
listen,
Sabbath?
listen,
But
Judith,
that was
Judith,
the
listen.
Lord. That was
What
the
scripture?
Lord.
Listen, Judith, notice we're reading at the Bible,
Yes,
Judith.
I know,
But
but
guess
I don't
what?
have my
There's
Bible to go back
listen,
and forth with
and that's
you.
why we're here to help you, sis. We're not, listen, I'm not against you, Judith. Just listen, I'm not against you. We're trying to help our people. Yes, we have to serve the Lord every day, but guess what? There is one specific day out of the week that's separate from the other days, and that's what we're trying to explain to you. That's what we're trying to explain to you, sis.
he rested because he created.
And so what did he tell us to do on that day too?
Why us? We're not God.
But I'm sure, but this is what God told us to do. Read it again. Exodus 28. Says Judith, listen, I know you believe in the Bible, Judith. I know you. God did certain things, but he also told us to do something, and we got to follow what God says, since that's what it is. So this, Judith, give me 5 minutes, just listen, okay? Okay, 2 minutes. Just 2 minutes. I'm going to go over the Sabbath day, and then you can leave, Judith. But I want you to understand.
Waiting at the
I got you.
I've got him
Exodus chapter 20, verse 8.
Listen.
Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God.
So guess what? God said it's the Sabbath day. We're not supposed to work, do all of our labor on that day. But listen, hold on. Listen.
In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant,
Listen, I got you.
nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates.
Read.
For in the 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth,
Right.
the sea, and in that and them, and in that and them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day, and hallowed it.
So guess what? The God rested and hallowed the seventh day for us to keep it too. So when God, on the seventh day, when God's resting, guess what we're supposed to do? We're supposed to rest. Meaning, we're not supposed to be working on this day.
Why are you preaching right now then?
Because
if you're supposed to be resting, why are you preaching?
Watch, Luke 4:16. I'm
No,
gonna explain to you.
listen.
You asked me, Judith, you asked me a question.
Yes.
You asked me a question, right?
Okay.
We're gonna answer. When you ask the question, you gotta give an answer. We're gonna give you answers. And see, this is the difference. Our people don't ask the pastor questions, and so they never get the answers. Or when they ask the pastor questions, they never get an answer. So guess what? We're gonna give you an answer if you ask the question. Because God said keep the Sabbath day. Now when Christ came in the New Testament, let's see if he kept the Sabbath day and what exactly he did on the Sabbath day. Luke 4:16. Bring it out! 16.
Luke chapter 4, verse 16.
No, verse 14.
Verse 14. And Jesus returned in the power of the Spirit into Galilee. And there went out a fame of him all the region round about. And
So we're talking about Jesus. Look what he did. Read.
and he taught in their synagogue.
So Jesus was going through all the cities and he was teaching in the synagogues. Let's see what day he was doing it on. Read.
Being glorified of all. And he came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up. And as his custom was, because it was a commandment, read. He went into the synagogue.
He went into the synagogues, he taught, read.
On the Sabbath day.
What day did he do that on, Judith? What day did Christ was teaching? On the Sabbath day, read.
And stood up for to read.
So guess what? We're doing the same thing since we're reading out the Bible and showing our people what's in the Bible, Judith. You see what I'm saying? No, hold on. Before you go, listen. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Do you agree with that? So do we have to keep the Sabbath day?
Because we're living
Yes.
this right here on the New Testament is we're living by grace we shall be saved.
Okay, we can
and, the
touch
New
that.
and on the Old Testament you're talking about the Sabbath.
No,
day.
this is the New Testament. He's talking about the
Yes,
Sabbath day.
yes, by
Jesus
grace.
is talking about the Sabbath. So meaning it didn't go away, sis.
It didn't go away.
So that's what I'm saying, Judith. So today, guess what we have to do?
We just continue preaching the word of God.
And keep the Sabbath day, Judith. We gotta keep the Sabbath day. Matthew 5:17. Judith, listen. Yo, we're trying to save you from death. If you continue to break God's Sabbath day, you're gonna get put to death, Judith. Yeah, you don't think so? It's because what the teacher taught you. You don't follow Christ. You don't follow Christ. Judith, read that. Romans 6:23. Read that.
What are you baptized on now? Are you baptized?
We're baptized. Yes, we are baptized.
You are baptized
Yes,
on,
we are. Romans 6:23.
on what?
Romans chapter 6, verse 3. For the wages of sin is death.
What is sin?
Yeah, but what are you baptized under? What name?
Judith, what is sin?
Sin
Yeah, what is sin?
is disobeying the God's word.
Disobey what word?
What?
His
Sin.
laws, right?
Sin. Yeah, there's laws.
His laws. So the law is. Yeah, this is Paul saying that after Christ died, Paul saying for the wages of sin is death. So if you continue to break God's laws, which is sin, you are going to die.
That's right.
Know that.
So
Are you
the Sabbath day
baptized?
isn't a law that we have
Are
to
you
keep.
baptized? What name are you
Yes, we're
baptized?
baptized.
Under what? The
I will answer
Father,
that
the
question.
Son,
Sis,
the Holy
Judith.
Spirit, or Jesus
Judith,
Christ?
Judith, listen. I'm going to answer your question. I'm going to answer all your questions, Judith. But listen, before we move on, I have to make sure you understand. There's no point in going to jump down, because this is what's going to happen, Judith. I'm going to start to answer your other question, and then you're going to go to something else. So let's do it one thing at a time. Because listen, Judith, we're talking about the Sabbath day. I just want to, all you have to do is just agree with what I just said. Do we have to keep the Sabbath day? Yes or no? Okay, sis, that's where you're wrong.
No.
You're wrong. You're gonna get Exodus.
Are you baptized in the name of Jesus Christ?
I mean, Hebrews 4.
Are you baptized in the name of Jesus Christ?
I'll answer that question after I show you this. I'm gonna answer all your questions, Judith, but we're gonna go one at a time, Judith. Hebrews 4 and verse.
Not for me.
There you go, verse 4.
Hebrews chapter 4, verse 4. For he spake in a certain place on the 7th day, on this wise. And
Jump to verse 8.
verse 8.
Right here, Judith, here's your answer. Right here, and I'm gonna get the baptism. Here's your answer. Hebrews 4:8.
But the Bible says,
Hebrews chapter 4, verse 8. For if Jesus had given them rest, then would he not afterward have spoken of another day?
So guess what? If we didn't have to keep the Sabbath day, wouldn't Jesus told us, don't keep the Sabbath day? I'm asking you. If we didn't have to keep the Sabbath day anymore, wouldn't Christ, out of his own word, say, don't keep the Sabbath day no more?
No.
straight out the scripture.
No, he would have said it. Right. He would have given it because God already said keep the Sabbath day. Christ, when he was walking, he never came and said, you know what? What God said in the Old Testament, don't do that no more. No, Christ kept the Sabbath day, Judith. So what you understand? You got to keep the Sabbath. Okay, now you want to talk about baptism. Are you baptized? How did you get baptized?
I repent myself. I was
To give a better description of what
submitted underwater.
And then when you came out of that water, what did you do?
I praised God.
Matthew 3. Praise God how?
I lift my hands up and I glorify His name.
So
I
that's
was grateful.
baptism?
No, I was under the water.
Yeah.
And I felt light. All my sins were buried.
All your sins were buried.
And
So do you still sin?
I try to stay away from it as much as I
No,
can.
I'm asking, do you still sin? Yes or
We
no?
sin every day, yes.
Okay, but I thought your sins were buried.
Yeah, the past is buried.
Okay, but right now you still sin.
Yes.
So what sins were you breaking? Before you got baptized, what sins were you breaking?
Before?
Yeah, what-
Drinking, smoking, dancing.
Drinking, smoking, dancing's a sin? Dancing's
Yes.
not a sin.
No, not dancing in the spirit.
Dancing's not a sin.
I can dance in the spirit.
Let me ask you something. Let me
That's
ask you
flesh.
something.
That's flesh.
Did you wear-
That's flesh.
did you wear-
You cannot dance.
Listen.
I wear
Judas.
dress. I don't wear pants.
Okay, all praise. You keep that. You
Yeah.
keep that. Do you eat shrimp, crab, pork, or lobster?
Those are the no.
Huh? You don't eat
Yes,
that?
I do. Yes,
Do you eat
I
pork?
do.
What
No,
else?
no pork.
You don't eat pig?
No.
Do you eat shrimp?
Yes.
Okay, Leviticus 11.
They don't.
Why don't why don't
Israelis
you
don't eat.
repent?
Why don't I?
Yeah.
Because we have to represent Jesus Christ.
Where does it say that at?
Because He said, "Woman shall not dress like men."
And where, in the New, right? In the New
Woman.
Testament or the Old Testament?
We're not supposed to wear
I'm gonna
pants.
show you Deuteronomy 22.
Honey, I don't got time for all this.
Judas, don't run away, Judas. Judas, don't run away. Deuteronomy 22, verse 5. For the woman shall not wear that which pertaineth unto a man, neither shall a man put in one's garment.
What is a nation? Nation is family. Nation is community. Nation is men leading by example. Nation is women's support. Nation is children with role models. Nation is